Let's start with a great image given to us by the prophet Isaiah. We're about 8th century BC here. He's someone who lived through some very dark times of war and unrest, and yet he did not despair. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Now, it's actually a story from the life of another major Old Testament prophet I want to focus on here, Jeremiah. We've now moved on a century or so. Times are still troubled. The Babylonian army is at this point besieging Jerusalem, with everything lined up for the Jews being conquered. And Jeremiah, the prophet, is under house arrest, having been accused of trying to desert the city. Then a cousin of Jeremiah's arrives to ask Jeremiah to perform his duty of purchasing a family field. This is the way things work then. It was to ensure that property remained within the family. Well, here we go. What an offer. Jerusalem is imminently to be defeated by the Babylonians, and someone comes along and says, here, buy a field. Oh, by the way, it's the other side of the Babylonian lines. Now, anyone simply reading the Times would consider it insane to buy this field. Well, what's the point? There's no future, there's no hope for this field. But the whole point of this is that Jeremiah does buy the field. Not because he's stupid, but because he's not simply reading the Times. He's also listening to God. Jeremiah is acting out a statement of confidence and hope in God, that the day would come again when normal activity would be resumed. On that day, those documents signed at that point would again be significant. Not necessarily for Jeremiah himself, he didn't know that at all, but for his descendants. What a powerful and telling affirmation of hope for the future. We're constantly presented it's just this relentless stream of bad news from the media. Pandemic, financial crash likely, major demonstrations in London with images of running battles with the police. The media are constantly talking the country down and down as if we face some uncontrollable collapse. So how do we respond? Well, let's start with a bit of getting things in perspective. Things clearly aren't good at present, but they could be certainly much, much worse. Now, what for us is not too good would be considered undreamed of comfort and plenty and economic security for many people in the world, even today. And looking the other way, there's actually plenty to be optimistic about. The problem we face is that news industry do not like to present it to us. So back to Jeremiah. If we want hope, we need to be taking God's view and understand that God is active in our world. An important aspect of taking God's view is taking the long view. Talk of hope is not about quick fix solutions. And this we find difficult because we're so used to being presented with things in terms of fast and instant. We lack hope because we want someone to come up with a packet of instant cure for COVID-19, instant economic recovery and instant world peace. Jeremiah was giving a very profound symbol of hope to those people around him, a statement that God would work out his purposes. Now, in Jeremiah's case, it was about 70 years before the exiles returned to Jerusalem. 70 years, not 70 minutes, not even 70 days before Jeremiah's family would be able to use those documents to establish ownership of that field and to start to work it again. As we're faced with a relentless talking ourselves down into despair, let's not lose sight of God's view of things. hang on with faith to that long-term perspective that God works with. So let's make every effort to find and celebrate genuine and substantial statements of hope. Let's finish with a prayer. God, our Heavenly Father, we are not people of fear. We are people of courage. We're not people who protect our own safety. We're people who protect our neighbour's safety. We are not people of greed. We are people of generosity. We are your people, giving and loving wherever we are, whatever it costs, for as long as it takes, wherever you call us. Amen.